Hey guys. Tonight we find ourselves standing in the cracked shadow of what once was Tokyo. Skyscrapers lean like broken teeth, and vines spill from shattered windows like the city is slowly bleeding green. You don't know what year it is, just that you've woken up, and everything familiar is gone. No lights, no voices, no hum of traffic. Only the wind whispering through steel skeletons and a distant metallic clang that might have been the sound of a sign falling or something watching. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop your location and what time it is for you right now. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up inside what used to be a train station. The floor is cracked, the vending machines are tipped over, their glass shattered, and old candy wrappers stick to the floor like dried leaves. Your clothes are thin, maybe a hospital gown maybe? Your mind is foggy. You don't remember how you got here, only that the world outside the rusted gate is quiet in a way that feels permanent. You step outside. Tokyo, the capital of 37 million, has fallen into ruins. No cars, no people, just a wild mix of rust, moss, silence, and the occasional flutter of a bird startled by your presence. You squint up at a collapsed monorail track overhead. You're not the only thing that survived the fall. The first thing you need is shelter. Not just a roof over your head, but something that feels defensible. You wander through side streets, passing broken combines and ramen shops overtaken by ivy. There's a sobering emptiness to it all. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just absence. As if people vanished, leaving the world to dust. Eventually, you find an old capsule hotel. Its glass is shattered, but the core structure looks intact. You climb the emergency stairs, careful not to make noise. Inside, it's dark, moldy, but manageable. You pick a capsule in the middle, neither at the end nor the beginning, somewhere hard to reach quickly. You wipe it down using cloth torn from a curtain. Tonight, this will be home. But you need to think longer term, a real base. Tokyo is full of resources, if you know where to look. Abandoned factories, train yards, rooftop gardens, these may hold the tools for survival. But today, you just scout. The sun is starting to set, and with it comes a chill that bites deeper than expected. No electricity means no heat, no fire means no safety. You realize you'll need warmth before the week is out, or you won't make it. You spend the rest of the day carefully scanning the streets near the hotel. You find a rusted crowbar, maybe useful for prying open doors, a bent pan, a box of soggy matches in a bike basket. One is still dry. Your heart skips. Hope comes in small doses. As night falls, Tokyo changes. The wind sounds louder. You hear shifting metal and maybe something climbing. You wedge a broken chair against the capsule door just in case. You lie still in the dark. Eyes open, ears wide. Not out of fear, exactly, but something older, like your body remembers what it was like when predators ruled the night. You fall asleep holding the crowbar tight, and the last thought before sleep takes you is this: if I survived, what else did? When you wake, it's still dark, but not the same kind. This is pre-dawn dark. Cold seeps in through every crack in the building, and the air feels damp, like the city itself is exhaling. Your breath comes out in a small cloud. Tokyo has always had humid summers and freezing winters, but you don't know what season it is anymore. The skies are pale gray, dusted with ash or maybe just pollution no one bothered to clean up. You open the capsule door slowly. Nothing moved in the night. Or if it did, it left no sign. The streets outside are wet. The asphalt still slick with a drizzle that must have come some time while you slept. Today, your goal is simple: food. You don't know when you last ate. You've been running on adrenaline and luck, but your stomach reminds you none of that is sustainable. Your first instinct is to return to the convenience store you saw yesterday, the Family Mart on the corner. You remember seeing shelves still standing, maybe something salvageable. You creep in through the broken glass. A bell above the door jingles faintly, a leftover sound from a world that no longer exists. Inside, it's a disaster zone. Empty racks, puddles of foul-smelling liquid, packets of noodles gnawed by rats. But you find something. One can of mikan, mandarin oranges, still sealed, and two onigiri, wrapped in plastic, pushed behind a display of moldy cup ramen. They're expired, probably dangerous, but in this world, you'll take the risk. You sit behind the counter and eat slowly, reverently. The rice is dry and crumbly. The seaweed has long gone soft. But your body accepts it with quiet gratitude. The can of oranges tastes like sunlight. With food comes energy. And now you think about water. Clean water. Tokyo once had thousands of vending machines. You pass 5 before finding one not tipped over. You pry it open using the crowbar. Inside a jackpot, 5 bottles of mineral water. Cold from the night air, clean, still sealed. You drink one on the spot, saving the others in your backpack. Now comes the second goal of the day, reconnaissance. You need to understand your surroundings. You begin making a mental map, but then decide that's too risky. So you tear off a poster from the wall, an old advertisement for a pop idol tour. You flip it over and use a pen you scavenged to begin sketching. Capsule hotel here, Family Mart there, vending machine here. You mark areas to explore. A small rooftop garden 3 blocks down. A school with solar panels on the roof. A maintenance building. As the sun climbs, you get moving. The garden is overgrown, but beneath the tangle of green, you find herbs. Shiso? Maybe mint? The soil is dry, but still viable. You tuck away a handful of leaves in your jacket. Useful later. Next, the school. You approach it cautiously, listening at every corner. The gates are rusted open. Inside, desks are overturned, chalk still faintly on the board. You head for the science lab. The drawers are full of broken glassware, but you find alcohol wipes, rubber tubing, and, miraculously, a small butane camping burner. This could mean hot food, heat, maybe even boiling water. You take it all, grateful. You pause in the school gym. There's a strange stillness here. Old posters hang from the ceiling. Let's cheer together. A basketball lies forgotten on the floor. You dribble it once out of reflex. The echo rings for far too long. The final stop is the maintenance office. Metal tools, rolls of wire, a spool of rope. You take a length of it and a rusted wrench. Both heavy, but in this world, weight is safety. When you return to the capsule hotel, you're exhausted, but you've done it. Food, water, basic tools, a map. That night you sleep curled next to your crowbar, burner, and water bottles. The capsule isn't a fortress, but it's more than you had yesterday, and that's something. You wake with a plan. Yesterday was about surviving the present. Today is about securing the future. First priority, shelter. The capsule hotel is temporary, vulnerable. Too many entrances, too exposed. You need something more permanent, somewhere you can build, fortify, repair. You think of the construction sites that once littered Tokyo. Skeletons of skyscrapers half finished, abandoned in chaos. One of them might still stand. You head north toward Shinjuku, once a business hub, glass towers, neon signs, endless crowds. Now it's a ghost jungle. Vines climb the sides of buildings. Roads are buckled from earthquakes and neglect. You pass a shattered karaoke bar, its posters bleached by sun and rain. Then you find it. A mid-sized office tower under construction. 5 stories, concrete shell, no windows. The cranes are frozen mid-swing like fossils. Scaffolding still clings to one side, rusted but stable. You climb carefully. On the 3rd floor, you find what you're looking for. A walled room with no roof yet. Rebar juts out of the concrete like metal weeds, but the structure is sound. One staircase leads up, the others are crumbled. Only one way in. Perfect. You decide this is it, your base. You scout the lower floors. There is a cement mixer, a stack of unused cinder blocks, buckets, tarps. You laugh out loud. This place is a gold mine. First, you mark your territory. Drag a heavy metal door from the ground floor and wedge it over the stairway. Tie it with rope, seal it with rubble. Not impenetrable, but it will buy you time. Next, insulation. It's winter, or whatever passes for it now. You need walls. You use tarp sheets and plastic signage to cover the open windows. You tape them with old duct tape, then reinforce with nails scavenged from broken pallets. You gather dry leaves and stuff them between cracks in the wall. Primitive insulation, but better than nothing. Each step is slow, manual, deliberate. As the hours pass, the room begins to change, from ruin to shelter, from echo to comfort. You build a fire-safe corner using bricks and a bent metal drum. With the small butane burner from the school, you boil water. Just having steam in the air feels like progress. Then comes the bed. You drag in tatami mats from a ruined ryokan a few blocks away. Layer cardboard beneath to block the cold. Top it with an emergency blanket and an old futon you beat clean of dust and mold. It's not cozy, but it's yours. In a storage closet on the 2nd floor, you find boxes of disposable gloves, plastic ponchos, and, unbelievably, a set of blue construction overalls. You put them on. They're too big, but you feel transformed, like you're becoming something more than just a survivor. You set up a corner for tools, your wrench, the rope, your glass knife now wrapped in cloth. You begin crafting a crude sling to carry your gear. Using cut-up ponchos, duct tape, and the straps from a broken backpack, you assemble something functional. As night falls, you climb to the rooftop. From here, the city stretches silent and strange, skyscrapers like tombstones. Mount Fuji just barely visible through the haze. You light a small flame inside the drum and sit beside it. Your radio crackles again. Just static. But you speak anyway. "Still alive," you say into the void. You don't know if anyone hears you, but it feels important to say. Before sleep, you mark the map again. New base, Shinjuku Tower 3F. Resources, bricks, tarp, rope, metal drum. Next target, secure perimeter, set traps, find signal boosters. Tomorrow, you'll start building defenses. But tonight, for the first time, you feel at home.
The next morning arrives in silence. No car horns, no sirens, just the soft creak of the wind twisting through scaffold poles above you. You lie still for a moment, listening. The tarp rustles gently at the windows. Your breath puffs faint clouds into the cold air. It's your 3rd sunrise since awakening into this hollow world. And today you build. First, a perimeter. You descend to the street, clutching your makeshift sling, and begin scavenging. Your eyes search for more rope, wires, nails, anything to help you fortify the stairwell. You find an old bicycle tangled under a collapsed awning. Its brake cables are intact. You salvage them, coil them carefully. They'll make excellent trip lines. You pass a police box. The doors hang ajar. Inside, riot gear. Long useless, but the batons are intact. One goes into your sling. You discover a bundle of chain in the remains of a delivery truck. Rust flakes off, but the links are strong. You lug it back, sweating. Back at the tower, you climb to your third-floor base and get to work. Tripwire across the stairwell, glass shards balanced atop a loose board. Primitive, but effective. You build a basic alarm using soda cans filled with screws strung along the chain. You remember something you saw in a documentary once. Noise deters most scavengers, even the desperate. The real predators are quiet. As the traps take shape, so does your focus. You're not just reacting anymore. You're planning, learning. You raid the floors above, unfinished drywall, coils of copper wiring, old safety cones. On the 5th floor, you find a stack of unused solar panels, small, but still wrapped in plastic. Your hands tremble as you carry one down. If it works, you'll have power. Not much, but enough. You clean it carefully. Set it at the window where the sun still reaches through the skeletal frame of a tower crane. You wire it to the radio. A red light flickers. It works. For the first time, your shelter is more than a ruin. It's becoming a system. You gather the broken plastic from the solar panel packaging and use it to line your water barrel. Rain is rare, but even dew is worth collecting. You drape a clean poncho over a frame and let condensation trickle into a jar beneath. Slow, but something. In a side corridor, you set up your first food cache. Half a bag of moldy rice you washed and dried, 2 cans of beans, scavenged, 1 strange vacuum-sealed packet of curry from a vending machine. You begin tracking your intake in a notebook. Calories, water, steps. Not because you're obsessed with fitness, but because control is sanity. You sleep lighter now, not with fear exactly, but with a constant thread of alertness woven through your rest. One eye always inward, one ear always open. Your dreams are weird, crowds of people with no faces, phones that ring but no one answers. Sometimes you hear your own voice calling, but you never know what it's saying. You wake often. Tonight, you climb again to the rooftop. You eat half a can of beans with a stick you sharpened into a spoon. The sky is gray with haze. You imagine the city as it was. You picture yourself walking among its neon veins, complaining about the rain or the crowded train. Now, you'd give anything to see a stranger, even just once. But then, you hear it. A sound beneath the wind. Soft, uneven. You tense. Footsteps? No, too rhythmic. Metal scraping? You go still. Listen again. Silence. Your heartbeat takes minutes to slow. Was it the wind or something else? You sleep that night with the baton next to your bed. Not out of fear, but readiness. You're alone, but you're not the only one left.
Morning arrives without warning. No alarms, no sunlight pouring through curtains, only the dim glow of another gray Tokyo dawn, seeping through dust-coated windows. You stretch, stiff and cold, your joints crack. You slept in your clothes again, but today the ache isn't from fear, it's from work. Today, you hunt. Not for meat, not yet, but for information. You want to understand this world you've woken into, its silence, its patterns, its rules. You lace your boots tight and pack carefully. A sling knife, your sharpened glass now wrapped with tape for a handle, a half-filled water bottle, a broken mirror shard in your pocket for signaling, a rolled-up city map you salvaged from a shuttered kiosk. Then you step out into the ruins. Tokyo is strangely preserved,
Not like a city bombed or burned, just paused. Trains frozen mid-station, bikes fallen on sidewalks, their wheels rusted into stillness. Paper lanterns fluttered gently in the wind outside ramen shops. A vending machine still hums softly, though its screen is dark. You head south, toward the river. Water is the key. Always has been. On your way, you pass the skeletal remains of a konbini. You duck inside, stepping over shattered glass and a toppled magazine rack. Behind the counter, treasure. A case of bottled tea, cloudy but sealed. A packet of dry soba noodles. A small crank flashlight shaped like a frog. You grin. It croaks when you turn the handle. You pocket everything and move on. At the edge of the Sumida River, the city opens up. The water flows sluggishly, stained with algae and debris. You kneel, fill a small vial, and tuck it away for later filtration. But it's not the water that catches your eye. It's the bridge. Massive, cracked, covered in vines. And across it, signs of movement. Scavenger? Survivor? You take out your mirror shard, catch the sun, flash once. Nothing. You wait. Still nothing. But the feeling doesn't leave you, like you're being watched or followed. You don't cross the bridge. Not yet. Instead, you double back through the underpasses. It's darker here, and colder, but you feel safer. You find something unexpected. A rooftop garden. Half dead, but still clinging to life. Kale, of all things. Sun-scorched, but edible. You pick a few leaves. Bitter, but better than nothing. You collect seeds from dried stalks and wrap them in a receipt. You'll plant them later. Maybe. Before returning home, you explore the ruins of a small shrine. Torii gate, cracked. The offertory box open, coins scattered. You bow your head anyway. You're not religious, but right now, superstition feels practical. You light a stick of incense from your fire kit. Just one. For memory. For protection. A crow caws from above. You look up. It's not alone. 3 of them circle the shrine, watching, waiting. You remember an old story, how crows guard the boundaries between worlds. You leave quickly. Back at your shelter, you filter the river water through activated charcoal you made from scorched bamboo. Slow, but clean. You boil some in a tin can over your new rocket stove, bricks stacked around a chimney pipe. You sip the tea you found. Warm, familiar, a luxury. Then you map. You sketch the bridge, the shrine, the garden. You label the tea bottles, mark where you found the soba, the frog flashlight. Information is safety now. Your map is becoming a lifeline. That night, you sleep lighter than before, but your dreams are different. Not faces this time, but eyes, watching you from across the bridge. And a sound somewhere in the dark, not a footstep, but a laugh.
You wake before dawn, startled. Something moved. Or maybe not. But your instincts are louder now than your thoughts. You sit still, listening, holding your breath like it's fragile glass. The city doesn't speak. It never does. But this silence feels different. More held. After a long minute, you move. Slowly, deliberately.
You grip your sling knife and slip it into your belt. Toss your blanket over the chair like a decoy body, just in case. Today, you return to the bridge. The image of the shadow you saw yesterday, half glimpsed, half imagined, has etched itself into your mind like an afterimage burned onto a screen. But this time, you won't announce your presence. You take the long way, ducking through alleys littered with fallen signs and rusted vending machines. On the way, you stop by a wrecked hardware store. Glass everywhere. Shelves collapsed. But in the mess, tools. Real ones. A bent hammer. A box cutter with one last sharp blade. A half-used roll of duct tape. You pocket them like gold. In the back room, you find a rain poncho, sealed in plastic. It smells like rubber and dust. But it fits, and it makes you feel, strangely, like a person again. Back on the road, you reach the bridge. You crouch behind the broken railing, peeking through the gaps. There are tracks. Faint. Boot prints in the dirt. Not yours. Not recent, but not old either. You follow, one slow step at a time. Across the bridge, the city changes. No longer high-rises and neon ghosts, this is the old Tokyo. Wooden houses, tiled roofs, crumbling walls wrapped in ivy. It feels closer to something you understand. You pass a broken shoji door, peek inside. Tatami mats, half-rotted. A tea set, untouched. Dust motes dance like fireflies in the still air. You enter. It's colder here. You light a candle stub and scan the room. In the corner, a family altar. Photos faded, offerings turned to dust. But next to it, wrapped in cloth, a small metal box. Inside, a lighter. Empty, but clean. A sharpening stone. And a photo. 3 people in front of this same house, smiling. You can't tell when it was taken. You pocket the lighter, leave the photo. This was their world, not yours. Outside again, you hear it. Footsteps. Far, then closer, then gone. You press your back to the wall, hand on your knife. A bird takes off from the roof above you, flapping wildly. Just a bird. You exhale, chest tight. But you leave quickly, heading west, deeper into the ruins. There, you find something remarkable. A greenhouse, or the skeleton of one. The glass is mostly shattered, but the frame still stands, and inside, green. Vines, moss, a fig tree somehow alive, its roots cracked through the floor. You eat one. It's sour, but it's life. You collect a few leaves, seeds, bark, anything that might be useful later for food, medicine, trade. Then you sit, just for a moment. And in that silence, a strange thought comes. Someone built this place. Someone kept it alive. You aren't alone. Not really. You're part of a ghost city now. Not haunted, not yet, but filled with things once tended, once loved, and now watched. As dusk falls, you retrace your steps to the river, back to your shelter. You add to the map. Bridges crossed, homes searched, greenhouses discovered. You mark the footprint location with a red X, then circle it. You place the duct tape and box cutter beside your tools, one more layer of preparedness. The city hasn't changed much, but you have. You move quieter, think sharper, plan further. And as night settles again, you lie awake, staring at the ceiling. Outside, the wind rustles something plastic. Inside, your lighter glims in the candlelight.
Morning breaks slow. The clouds hang low over Tokyo's ruins, casting a silver glow across the skyline of broken concrete and tangled wires. Your breath comes out in little clouds. It's colder today, colder than before. You check your supply stash, down to 1 can of food, half a bottle of filtered water, and the last slice of dried rabbit meat you smoked 2 nights ago. Not enough. You need a plan that's bigger than just surviving today. It's time to build something long-term. You step outside, sling your makeshift bag across your back, and head to the spot near the riverside where the earth is flat and the old trees offer cover. This will be the site, a proper base, not just a temporary roof, but something stronger, something that lasts. First comes clearing. You gather fallen branches, broken furniture, bamboo from a nearby garden. Using your box cutter and duct tape, you bundle materials into draggable heaps. Your hands blister, your shoulders ache, but by mid-morning, you've staked out a perimeter with chalk and broken tiles, a 5-meter circle, large enough to sleep, cook, store, small enough to defend. Next, you dig. It's slow going, using the sharpened end of a rusted shovel blade you found behind a garage, but you dig deep enough for corner posts. The soil is soft with old decay, smells like wet leaves and metal. You set up the first vertical stakes, old broom handles, pipe segments, reinforced with plastic rope from a destroyed car trunk. You lash them together at the top, forming a dome frame. It looks primitive. It is, but it stands. For walls, you layer tarps, flattened aluminum sheets, and reeds you collect from the riverbank. You stitch them together with fishing line and zip ties scavenged from a fishing supply shop near the canal. Every piece tells a story. A torn raincoat becomes a doorway. An old futon becomes insulation. The roof is a challenge. You use broken umbrellas for structure, zip-tied to form a ribbed skeleton. Then cover it in plastic shopping bags, all fused together with heat from a pan warmed over fire. It smells awful, but it holds. And now the shelter is dark inside, quiet. You kneel in the middle and light a candle. It flickers gently, painting your face in gold and orange. You smile, just a little. You made this. It's not beautiful, but it's yours. Outside, you set up the cooking area, a circle of stones blackened from past fires. You dig a trench nearby, an improvised latrine, then a second one, lined with charcoal and gravel to filter runoff water. You hang your clothes on a wire stretched between 2 fallen signs, and then you start the fire. This time not because of desperation, but because it's part of a routine now. The flint scrapes smoother. The sparks come faster. You feed the flame patiently, like tending a pet. By dusk, the first meal in your new shelter is ready. Boiled root vegetables and a pinch of seasoning scraped from a packet that once belonged to a ramen shop. It's salty, it's hot, it's good. As you eat, the city hums in the distance, not with machines, but with wind. And for the first time, the wind doesn't sound lonely. It sounds like company. After dinner, you sit cross-legged and pull out the map. You add the shelter, circle it twice, label it home base. The word feels strange to write, almost dishonest. But maybe not. Maybe this is where it starts. Tomorrow, you'll make a water catchment system from gutter pipes and plastic bins. After that, maybe a solar oven from a satellite dish in foil. Bit by bit, day by day. It's not just surviving anymore. It's building. The stars come out slowly above the ruins, one by one. You lie down on the futon, pull a scarf over your eyes, breathe in the smell of smoke and damp plastic, and for once, you sleep. Deeply. Not because you're exhausted, but because you're safe.
You wake to the sound of dripping. Not rain, condensation. The plastic layers of your makeshift roof gather moisture from the morning fog and funnel it to a clay bowl you placed last night. 2 full cups of clean water. You smile without meaning to. It worked. Outside, the city is wrapped in silver mist, and your breath clouds the air in little puffs. You stretch, listen to your body creak like old wood, then stand. It's time to build the next critical system, water collection and storage. You scavenge along the edges of the neighborhood, careful not to stray too far from the base. Old rooftops, shattered vending machines, bits of forgotten plumbing. Everything becomes potential. The key is gravity. You need the water to flow without pumps. So, you use broken drainage pipes from a school building and reroute them from a sloped rooftop down to your base. You secure the joints with duct tape and melted plastic strips. It's ugly, but it's tight. For containers, you salvage water tanks, cracked buckets, and even a ceramic bathtub from an abandoned ryokan. You clean them thoroughly, burn charcoal to boil water, scrub with sand and vinegar made from fermented apple scraps. Hours pass. You work slow, methodical. Each seal tested, each pipe adjusted for angle. By midday, you test it with your own hands. You climb the rooftop and pour a bucket of water down the pipe. You race down. The bathtub fills. No leaks. You laugh. You actually laugh. Not because it's funny, but because something finally worked on the first try. It's the closest thing to joy you felt since the world ended. Next comes filtration. You stack 3 buckets vertically, drill holes into each one. Layer one with sand, the next with crushed charcoal, the top with gravel. It's simple, but ancient tech. It works. Water drips slowly, cleaner with each drop. You mark it drinkable with a piece of chalk. Your fingers are black with soot and your nails are chipped, but your system is real. And now it runs whether you're watching or not. In the late afternoon, you begin building a solar still. Using a broken aquarium glass, black plastic, and a small tin can, you construct a dome that captures evaporation. A small cup sits at the center. Condensation forms, drips into the cup. Desalinated. You can't rely on rain or luck. You need systems, resilient ones. By evening, the base has 3 water sources: rainfall, filtration, and distillation. You've built redundancy. You sit back, stretch your legs, watch the sun dip between distant towers, its light reflecting in orange streaks off shards of broken glass. You sip from your filtered supply. It tastes earthy, but clean. A small bird lands on the edge of your water bin. Pecks once, twice, then flies off. You smile again. You shared. Unintentionally, but it matters. At night, you light a small fire again, more for comfort than heat. You wrap your arms around your knees and stare into the flame. Then, almost out of habit, you press your ear to the small radio. Still silent, but now that silence feels different. It's waiting. like you. You lean back against the wall of your shelter, touch the edges, solid, and as the darkness wraps around you, you whisper to yourself, I can live here. Not survive, live. Tomorrow you'll build tools, maybe a rain gauge, maybe a smoke signal system, but tonight you rest. Not like a hunted animal, but like someone with a home.
Morning comes with a low rumble in your stomach. Not just hunger, need. You've eaten the last of the dried fish from the convenience store 3 days ago. Now your body demands something real. You need to hunt. But there are no wild deer wandering the streets of Tokyo. What you do have are crows, dozens of them, watching, waiting. You don't like the idea, but protein is protein, and it's either you or the silence. You remember a scene from a survival manual you read years ago, primitive snare traps. You dig through the wreckage of a bicycle shop and salvage brake cables, thin, strong, flexible. You strip them, twist them into wire snares. Then comes bait, leftover rice soaked in cooking oil and placed in a paper cup, set beneath the snare. You wear gloves, leather ones torn from a burned-out garage, to keep your scent off the trap. And then you wait, from a rooftop. In the haze of the morning sun, a crow lands, pokes, steps forward, snap. The trap yanks tight. You don't flinch. You descend the stairs quietly. You take a deep breath and do what must be done. It's not clean, not heroic, but it feeds you. You cook it over slow coals with wild ginger and burnt miso paste scavenged from a restaurant fridge. It tastes strange, gamey, but it stays down, and you feel stronger. You build 2 more snares. You string them across a fence near the train station, where pigeons gather at dusk. This is a different kind of hunting, not with rifles, but with patience. Every movement matters. Every noise carries. You must become the predator again in a city where you were once just another commuter. Later, you try fishing. You find a koi pond in the abandoned garden of a government building. Algae choked, but alive. You carve a spear from a broom handle, harden the tip in flame, and crouch silently by the water's edge. You miss. Once? Twice. Then you land one. You laugh in disbelief. You clean it with your glass blade knife, carefully preserving the bones for fish broth. Every piece matters now. Every bone, every organ, every drop of oil. You boil the bones with bits of green onion and some wild radish you found near a shrine. And for the first time since the collapse, you feel full. Not stuffed, not lazy full, just full, satisfied. You write a note in your journal. 1 crow, 1 koi, 2 pigeons. Enough for 5 days. More traps needed. You draw diagrams of your snares, how the triggers work, how high the loop should hang. You're teaching yourself, leaving behind something, a record, a method. Even if no one else reads it, maybe the future you will. Before night falls, you return to the rooftop and check your solar stills. They've gathered more water than yesterday. The sun must have burned hotter. You smile at the irony. Global warming killed the world, and now the heat keeps you alive. You fall asleep with your head on the journal, the pencil still in your hand, a small pile of feathers at your feet. In the dark, another bird lands near the trap. It watches you. You don't stir, because you've learned something important. In this new world, food doesn't come from aisles. It comes from stillness, from silence, from work. And tomorrow you'll go back out again, this time with a better snare. And maybe, just maybe, a fishing net made from torn t-shirt threads and clothesline wire. It won't be pretty, but it will work.
You wake with a sore back and aching shoulders. Sleeping on concrete, even cushioned by old tatami mats and discarded jackets, never gets easier. But your journal lies beside you, open to yesterday's diagrams. The sketches of your snares, the notes on crow habits, the koi pond's depth, all there. Your handwriting has gotten smaller, tighter, sharper. That's something. Today, you decide, is not about food or water. It's about something just as vital. Tools. You need more than a glass blade knife. You need rope, containers, a hammer, maybe even a shovel. But above all, you need a pack. You can't carry your life in your arms forever. You set off early toward what used to be a hiking goods store. The building leans slightly now, one wall cracked like a broken tooth. Inside, mold creeps along the floor tiles, and moss has begun reclaiming a display wall. But the backpacks, those are still there. You pull down a large canvas pack. Mold stains it, but it's usable. Then, the jackpot. A survival multi-tool, rusted but intact. Pliers, a dull saw, screwdriver bits, and a small blade. You hold it like a relic. Behind the counter, you find coils of paracord and a canister of butane. Almost empty, but not quite. The store's register lies open, coins spilled like offerings. You pocket a few, not for money, but for weight, for trade, or maybe just the comfort of keeping something familiar. Back home, your base, you begin crafting. First, a water carrier. You clean a large plastic jug from the vending machine room next door, wrap it in paracord for easier grip, and fit a cloth-filtered spout at the top using pieces of an old surgical mask and rubber bands. Second, a digging tool. You sharpen a flat iron bar from the rail yard and wrap its handle in torn bicycle rubber for grip. You carve a spoon from wood. You braid cord into a makeshift sling. You reinforce your boots with canvas strips and adhesive patches from a first aid kit. Each creation takes hours, but time is no longer a luxury. It's an ingredient. You return to the train station that evening. There's a vending machine you've been eyeing, one of those solar-powered types that never fully died. It flickers to life with a push. One button works. It drops a warm bottle of green tea. You blink, laugh, and thank whatever spirits still watch over Tokyo's ruins. You drink it slowly on the way home, not for the hydration, for the memory. Because for a moment, it's like you're back in the world before. Lunch breaks, train rides, Sakura season. The world you knew, the one that's gone. But even in its absence, pieces remain. You hang your new pack on the wall of your hideout. You sort your tools into a plastic drawer salvaged from a melted fridge. You draw each item in your journal with care, labeling them like an archaeologist cataloging an extinct culture. Which, in a way, you are. You are the last practitioner of modern survival in a postmodern age. And every tool you build, every knot you tie, every scrap you reclaim, is a rebellion against the void.
That night, you set up your cooking stones again. The crow meat is gone, but you boil rice with a pinch of wild green powder made from crushed leaves you don't yet have a name for. It tastes sharp, medicinal, but it fills you. And as you lie down, looking at the ceiling's cracks forming constellations of their own, you realize something. You're not just surviving anymore. You're crafting. You're building a life. And it's not the life you asked for, but it's yours. Dawn doesn't wake you up anymore. The pigeons do. Their fluttering and low coos from the rafters have become your makeshift alarm clock. And for once, you don't mind. Because today is about food. Not just scavenging, not just hunting. You want to grow something. The thought felt absurd at first. Tokyo, the metropolis of glass and steel, now reduced to overgrowth and silence, what could it offer in terms of soil? But yesterday, when you passed an old elementary school, you noticed something. The roof was flat and wide. And more importantly, the garden behind it had wild sprouts poking through cracks in the pavement. If weeds could grow here, maybe so could you. You gather what you need. 2 shallow plastic tubs from a broken shelving unit, a few bricks and planks for elevation, ashes from your fire as base fertilizer, a cracked watering can from a forgotten playground, and a handful of damp earth from where the drain used to clog, rich, black, and somehow still alive. At the rooftop, the air is warmer, brighter. You clear debris, sweep a patch clean, and set up the tubs. Layer ashes, soil, bits of compost, mostly rice scraps and mashed wild greens, and carefully shape 2 rows with your hands. The seeds? You didn't think you had any, but when you tore apart that moldy supermarket bread last week, you kept the sesame seeds. And you remember the dried chili flakes in a ramen pack, tiny red seeds clinging to the powder. You plant them both. One side for sesame, one for chance. You even press a few green peas into the soil, salvaged from a rusted can. They might not sprout, but they might. You water gently with lukewarm water from a tin bowl you left out in the morning sun. And then you sit, you wait, and you hope. Later that afternoon, you raid the abandoned pharmacy next to the clinic. Most things have been looted, but in a locked drawer, you find gauze, iodine, a cracked thermometer, and something priceless: a solar battery charger. It's meant for hearing aids, but you think you can repurpose it. You also find a medical face shield. You peel off the cracked plastic and keep the foam headband. It could cushion a future helmet or help strap supplies. You move like a squirrel now, hoarding, sorting, evaluating. Your brain, once overwhelmed by panic and grief, now hums with quiet efficiency. You are adapting, changing. And your stomach grumbles, not from hunger, but memory. So you make dinner. Rice boiled with wild greens again, but this time seasoned with salt packets, and one with a strange umami flavor. Seaweed dust, maybe. You found it in a broken sushi box 2 weeks ago. You eat slowly, watching the wind blow across the rooftop garden like a ghost checking on your work. At night, you light a fire with your now well-worn flint and glass blade combo. You've made a small stone stove, a triangle of bricks with a gap at the base for airflow. It holds heat better, cooks faster. You're learning. And tonight, as you rest against the wall of your shelter, legs stretched, pack beside you, you write in your journal, planted sesame, might sprout. Found charger. Fire more efficient. Still here. Still here. That's worth writing down. You close the journal. Outside, a fox trots silently across the street. It stops, looks at you, and then it's gone. But for a moment, you felt seen? In this city of ruins, something else is watching. And you wonder, if you survive long enough to harvest sesame seeds on a Tokyo rooftop, will you still be human? Or something more?
The wind is cooler this morning. You feel it first as you step out from your shelter, the edge of a breeze sliding across your cheek, sharper than yesterday. Autumn is coming, and with it, a quiet urgency. Your firewood pile is running low. You've been relying on scavenged beams, broken furniture, and old crates, but wood rots, mold creeps in, and some planks are soaked and useless. If you're going to keep warm, really warm, you'll need to build something more permanent. A rocket stove. You remember the concept from a survival manual you once skimmed in high school. A small, efficient wood-burning stove that traps and directs heat upward. Minimal fuel, maximum warmth. Perfect. You sketch the design with a charcoal nub on the back of a flattened cereal box. A tall vertical chamber, a horizontal feed tube, insulated walls, top exit for the heat. You look for bricks first. Not hard. Tokyo's alleys are full of shattered walls and remnants of garden paths. You select the driest ones, knocking each together to test for hollowness. You need 12. You find 16. More than enough. Next, insulation. Ash and dry dirt can work in a pinch. You sift through the remnants of old fire pits and grab a rusted pot to mix your fill. For the base, you use an old cinder block. It's heavy, but it keeps everything stable. You build it slowly, brick by brick, feeding the horizontal chamber into the vertical shaft, using a mixture of mud and ash as mortar. The final touch? A metal grill scavenged from a ventilation fan, bent and blackened, but still usable. You light the fire. It burns hot. So hot that even with a handful of twigs, you boil water in minutes. Efficient, clean, and compact. You smile. For the first time in weeks, you're not just surviving, you're optimizing. You cook a meal, a small tin of beans and some soaked rice, with steam rising through the morning chill. The smell brings comfort, a strange, primitive pride. You save the ashes in a broken glass jar. They'll go back into the soil tomorrow. While the fire simmers, you tinker with the solar charger you found in the clinic last week. You attach stripped wires from a broken toy drone. Your goal? Power the small emergency radio you found in the clinic last week. You've never done electrical work, but desperation breeds invention. You test the setup. Nothing. You reposition the solar panel and try again. A crackle. A faint hum, then static. You hold your breath. If anyone can hear this, repeat, if anyone can hear this. Your heart stops. The voice is weak, but human. You scan for location clues, but the transmission cuts. Just static again. You write it down. The time, the direction of the antenna. Your guess? Southwest. Maybe it's from Yokohama. Maybe further. but someone else is alive. You don't scream, you don't cry. You just sit quietly by your fire and let it sink in. The loneliness, always just beneath your skin, loosens a little. A rope thrown across a canyon. Even if they're 100 kilometers away, they exist. And that means something. Later, as the sun begins to fall behind the skeletal towers, you decide to expand your shelter. More space means more storage, maybe even a proper sleeping nook. You break apart 2 old doors and lash them together as a frame. Use sheets of tarp and wires for roofing. Patch cracks with bits of plastic bag, tape, and cloth. It's not pretty, but it's dry. And it's yours. You end the day by boiling a pot of pine needle tea on your rocket stove. A new routine begins to form. You log it all in your journal. Built stove, heard voice on the radio, started shelter expansion, feeling less alone. And before you sleep, you stare at the firelight flickering against the walls. Your hands are blistered, your clothes dirty, but your mind sharp, focused, alive. You survived another day. And now, there's a voice in the static.
Rain comes like a whisper. It begins in the early hours, before the sun breaks the horizon. Just a faint tapping on the makeshift tarp roof, like fingers drumming gently. You wake to the sound and hold your breath, listening just to be sure. Yes, rain. Real rain. You sit up slowly. The cool dampness in the air is different from the usual morning mists. You crawl outside and look up. A gray sky stretches above the ruined skyline of Tokyo, veiled in drifting clouds. The air smells of wet stone, rust, and dust finally settling. After weeks of bone-dry weather, the skies have opened. You move quickly. You've prepared for this. Using the rusted gutters from collapsed buildings and plastic sheeting scavenged from an old billboard, you rig up a simple rain-catching system days ago, just in case. You rush to your collection area, and to your quiet joy, the containers are already filling. Old plastic tubs, glass jars, rusted cooking pots. Anything that can hold liquid is now your treasure. You whisper, "Thank you," to the sky. As drops splatter against your face, you close your eyes and smile. Water is life. For days you've rationed from puddles, condensation, and what little you could boil and filter from stagnant sources. But now, fresh rain, clean, cool, and abundant. You use one of your old shirts to create a basic filter. Stretch the cloth across the mouth of a jar and let the water drip through. It won't remove everything, but it keeps out leaves and grime. Later, you'll boil every drop over your rocket stove. But for now, you cup your hands and drink a little directly from the sky. It tastes like heaven. By midday, your containers are brimming. You seal what you can and tuck them into the shade to keep cool. Even manage to clean your face, your hands, and your tools, a luxury you hadn't realized you'd missed. The scent of wet earth and concrete fills the air. You feel it deep in your lungs, like breathing memory. You climb the stairs of a broken apartment complex to a second-story ledge. From here, you can see far. Water runs in tiny rivers down the streets. It pools in craters and drips from vines climbing the metal skeletons of old buildings. And then, you see something strange. A shimmer. Faint. Over the next hill, where the edge of the residential zone meets the old parkway, Not lightning, not fire, but a strange, steady light. Pale blue, almost pulsing. You narrow your eyes. It's not natural. No storm does that. You watch for a full minute. It doesn't blink out. You feel a knot in your stomach. It could be another survivor. It could be something else. You mark it on your map. Make a note in your journal. Unusual light. Hill. Southeast ridge. 11:14 a.m. Then the rain begins to slow. By afternoon, the clouds start to part. Sunlight seeps back into the cracks between towers. You spend the rest of the day boiling the water you've collected, rotating pots across the stove, cooling them slowly. Your radio crackles once, faintly. No voice today, just static. But you keep it nearby. That night, you sip pine tea made from rainwater. It tastes cleaner, fresher, like something reborn. You write again in your journal. First rain in weeks. Caught 18 liters. Cleaned tools. Saw light. Tomorrow, I go. Before sleep, you test the knife you made days ago, checking the edge. You adjust the straps on your bag. You pack dried rice, rope, a metal cup, the radio, your map, and your resolve. You don't know what the light is, but in this world, anything not explained is either danger or opportunity. Either way, you need to know.
You leave at dawn. The city still sleeps in its crumbling silence as you step over cracked pavement and under bent streetlights that haven't glowed in years. Your breath clouds in the cool morning air. There's a stillness here, deeper than usual, like the world is holding its breath with you. The memory of the strange light dances behind your eyes, that faint, steady blue shimmer. You marked it. Now you follow. You carry only what you need. A pack with dried rice, boiled rainwater, your handmade knife, a rope coil, and your map, sketched with trembling pencil lines. Your boots crunch softly through debris as you move southeast, weaving through collapsed apartments and rust-choked fences. Soon, you're out of the zone you know. Past the last building you've marked, the city changes. Vines hang heavier here. Nature is clawing its way back, reclaiming sidewalks and subway signs. Crows watch you from above. You see fewer signs of other scavengers, no footprints in the dust, no open doors or picked-over shelves. It feels untouched. You find yourself in a residential district, once quiet, clean. Now the homes are like husks, frames of lives once lived. You stop in front of a wooden gate, barely hanging on its hinges. Inside, a garden overgrown with moss and wild bamboo. It smells earthy, green, fresh. You pause. A wooden sign still hangs on the porch, characters half faded. Welcome. You step inside. Not for shelter, not to search, just to feel what home used to be like. You sit on the floor for a minute, listening to the creak of wood and the song of distant cicadas. Then you press on. The road becomes more forest trail than street now. You pass under torii gates, whose paint is peeled away, their vermilion bones still standing strong. Shrines long forgotten whisper through the trees, overgrown but sacred still. And then, as the sun rises higher, you see it, the hill, just as you marked. You climb slowly, boots slipping on wet moss and mud. At the top, you crouch behind a broken railing and peer over. There it is, the light. Still glowing, still pulsing. It's not a campfire. It's not a reflection. It's a tower, a radio tower, or what's left of it. Its base is collapsed, but a solar panel array remains attached to a side structure, propped up by makeshift scaffolding, scrap metal, and wooden planks. Someone built this. Someone kept it working. A small cable leads down to a crate-shaped shelter. Inside, you see it. A battery bank, a flickering control panel, and next to it, a second radio. Your breath catches. You scan the area. No movement, no signs of recent activity. But this isn't abandoned. It's maintained. You step carefully down the slope and move toward the shelter, heart pounding like a war drum in your chest. Inside, you find tools. Basic, rusted, but real. You find wrappers, dried food packages, a worn sleeping mat, a toothbrush. This was lived in. And most important, you find a journal, written in neat, almost school-like Japanese. The pages are smudged, but legible. It reads, Day 233. Still no answer, but I'll keep trying. Tower runs 3 hours a day, battery weak. Must scavenge more panels. I hope someone hears. You flip through more pages. Days of silence. Then a message. Heard static. Then faint words. Maybe real, maybe just hope. You sit back, the weight of it hitting you. You weren't alone. Someone was here, trying to reach out. Like you. You turn on the radio. It hums to life. You tune slowly, carefully, just as they must have done. For a moment, nothing. Then static. Then a voice. Faint. Anyone out there? Your breath stops. You press the mic. You say the only words that matter. I'm here.
The voice crackles again. It's weak, wavering, but undeniably real.
Hello? Is this Tokyo?
You fumble the mic in disbelief, then press down hard. Yes, Tokyo. Who is this? Static. A long pause. Then,
My name is Aiko. I'm south, near Nagoya. I thought no one was left.
your knees weaken. You sit on the dusty floor of the shelter, heart thudding against your ribs. You're not imagining it. You're not losing your mind. There is someone out there. You ask how long she's been broadcasting.
Over a year. I rotate towers when I find them. They don't last. I almost gave up.
Your voice is shaky, but steady enough. I found your journal. I thought I was the only one. She laughs. It's the first human laugh you've heard since the world ended. It echoes faintly through the broken woods and shattered concrete, warm and alive.
I left that journal behind 6 months ago. Didn't think it would lead anywhere.
You talk for hours. Your voice is cut in and out, but the meaning holds.
She survived much like you, scavenging, building, improvising. She knows how to harvest salt from dried seaweed, how to filter water through crushed charcoal and sand. You share how you carved your knife from glass, how you used rain gutters to catch clean water. Between the static and silence, you build something new, a plan. She can't travel far, injured leg, she says, but she's near a functioning bike shop with working solar panels. If you can find a long-range battery, you could reach her in days. So you commit. The next morning, you scavenge new supplies, more rice, more water, a sturdier tarp for travel. You wrap your map in plastic, mark every landmark she described. A sunken temple, a rusted convenience store, the school with a tree growing through its gym. The path won't be easy. You'll need to fix a bike frame, reroute power from old panels, carry enough food, defend yourself if needed. But for the first time, the direction feels real. Not just wandering, a purpose. You dismantle the radio and pack its core parts. Leave behind a message carved in wood. I heard you. Keep calling. You're not alone. You descend the hill just after sunrise. Your boots are steadier. The pack is heavier. But your heart is light. As the ruined towers of Tokyo vanish behind vines and fog, you feel the beginning of something else. Not just survival, connection, and maybe, just maybe, rebuilding. Wind down. The fire has long burned down. Its warmth lingers, gentle against your skin. The wind outside your shelter whispers softly through leaves, a lullaby written by the earth itself. You breathe slowly, deeper than usual. Each inhale holds the memory of ash, pine, and cold metal. Each exhale lets go of fear, of past days, of silence. The radio rests beside you. Its hum is steady now, like a heartbeat not quite yours. Not loud, not sharp, just present. You imagine the signal reaching further tonight, through treetops, over hills, across the dead bones of cities. Maybe it finds someone, maybe not, but it goes. It tries. You pull the blanket over your shoulders, its weight like the memory of someone's hug. Soft, familiar, even if imagined. Your eyes grow heavier with each blink. Not just tiredness, peace, hard won, earned. And somewhere out there, in the vastness of what remains, a radio might be clicking back. Or it might not. But here, in this moment, you are warm. You are still. You are alive. And for now, that is enough.